Hi everyone. Today's mini lesson is going to focus on how consumers or people that buy things are choosing which goods or services to purchase. Learning target for this lesson is I can describe the factors that consumers may consider when purchasing a good or service. So, first of all, we're going to talk about cost. Cost is probably the biggest thing when determining what good or service you may choose to purchase. However, the cost is more than just the price. The price is talking about the amount, like the dollar amount for a good or service. Allows individuals to compare between sellers so they can determine which best meets their needs, and it allows them to consider any additional costs that they may incur by purchasing a specific good or service, such as additional shipping fees if it is something that's purchased online. In addition to price, a consumer typically also considers the value. The value is the dollar amount that an individual places on a specific good or service. Later on in the marketing period, we're going to be talking about marginal analysis, which is basically the process of comparing the amount and how much people value a specific good or service. This allows them to consider the long term investment. So, for example, if someone is really into playing music and they get a fancy guitar, chances are that's going to have a longer term value than the price that's placed on it because that person may really get their use out of that guitar. Another thing to consider are the benefits. The benefits are talking about how well does a specific good or service meet the requirements for what someone wants. So this relates to needs and wants. So we've talked about how needs are talking about what people need for basic necessities. These are things like food and shelter, clothing. Wants are things that are additional. So things that people don't absolutely need for survival, but they really want. So, when considering the needs or wants, you have two questions to consider. Does the good or service satisfy the good or services needed? And does it solve a problem? So, for example, if someone really needs a phone to be able to do their job, does that phone have all the functions that it needs to perform that specific responsibility? So the example on here I have is of purchasing a cell phone. So when purchasing a cell phone, there's lots of different factors to consider. A lot of people will consider things like the brand or the ratings of the specific cell phone. However, most people, when they're looking at that phone, they're going to consider durability. How long is it going to last? Does it have the features that you need? And will it perform to the level you need it to? However, there are also government regulations that are put in place to make sure that people have the information that they need in order to truly make an educated decision on what they are purchasing. These regulations have dated back to the early 1900s. There are a lot of laws which regulate businesses to protect individuals or consumers from fraud, false advertisement, and unsafe products. So there are different requirements that individual businesses need to put in place in order to ensure that those things don't happen. It also requires individuals to properly label the things that they're purchasing or selling. This is especially important for things that are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. There are safety inspections. This is typically looking at factories or wherever the product is produced, as well as an access to a public database with info about the product. So, for example, there are databases that have nutritional fats on food. So, when you put these all together, these help to determine what goods or services people choose to purchase.